Hello everyone and welcome to a beautiful miniature that just happened a few hours ago. It was suggested to me via YouTube suggestions. I was planning on continuing the Fabiano Caruana saga, and yeah, I just saw this suggestion, and the person suggesting it said that it was the perfect miniature. And okay, everyone tries to get their suggestion in by using flashy words, but upon further inspection I decided that this is indeed the perfect miniature. This is one of those games that belongs in every chess book for beginners, for intermediate players, on how to attack, on how not to defend, on it's basically Morphy versus amateur. It's beautiful. You guys will love it. Features world youngest grandmaster Ihor Samunenkov. We featured one game already by him, so very glad to have him here again, and he's facing international master Suresh, who I think became an international master this year. And it's wow. And some of you are saying, okay, Ihor is not the youngest grandmaster ever. Abhimanyu Mishra is the youngest grandmaster ever. Yes, Mishra is the youngest grandmaster to ever achieve the grandmaster title, but Ihor is currently the youngest grandmaster. So that's the difference. Now let's check it out. Ihor with white opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. And I know you guys are thinking, how can there be a beautiful miniature if it's a Ruy Lopez? Shouldn't it be an Italian? Well, it is possible to have cool miniatures from Ruy Lopez without it being the martial attack. We have pawn to a6, Morphy's defense, bishop to a4, knight to f6, and knight to c3. We have pawn to b5, bishop to b3, and bishop to c5, so the standard Tarrasch variation of Morphy's defense, where you usually continue with castles and d3, and it makes sense. Castling your king to safety always makes sense, and d3 preparing to play bishop g5 or get your bishop into the game also makes sense. But knight to d5, it's kind of breaking fundamental chess principles. So you move the same piece twice before finishing development, but as they say, you have to know the rules very, very well in order to break them, and let's see if Ihor knows them very well. So the e4 pawn is being offered. Should Suresh capture the pawn? No, he should not. He should just castle here. For example, castles, and then, for example, if d3 defending on e4, then you decide whether to capture on d5 or to play something else, something like maybe captures, and you move the rook, let's say rook to b8. But after knight to d5, Suresh accepts the challenge. He plays knight captures on e4, and now what's the point? The point is pawn to d4. And while it does look something like something your uncle would play in a bullet game, this is incredibly sharp, and if you're not willing to spend really a lot of time here, it is very, very hard to calculate what to even do here. Obviously, you want to capture with something. Do you capture with the pawn? Do you capture with the bishop? Do you capture with the knight? Do you just move the bishop to a7? All of these are possibilities, but the thing is, if you play knight captures on d4, what's the real problem here? If knight captures on d4, then knight captures and bishop captures, there's queen g4, attacking the knight and the g7 pawn, and there's just no good move for black here. Whatever you play, you're just going to suffer severe material loss. On the other hand, after d4, there's also bishop captures on d4, which not only can be played, but should be played, and I'm going to show it because it's a beautiful line. It seems like it runs into the exact same tactic, but what's the difference? Knight captures, and queen to g4, we're attacking the knight and the g7 pawn. The difference is now you castle. And now look at this. If queen captures on e4, you will play pawn to c6, attack the knight. Once the knight moves, doesn't really matter where, you're going to play pawn to d5, and that's pretty much it. If queen captures on e5, then just something like knight captures on b3, and after a captures on b3, pawn to d4, you chase away the knight, and if the knight moves, rook to e8 wins the game for black. So white will have to castle here, and then you will just win back your piece. So that's the key ingredient. On the other hand, if you don't capture the, let's say, play a queen to d3, you want to keep the file close, well then pawn to f5, and black has, all the compensation here. Black will play f4, e4, and white maybe can defend, but it's not going to be easy. So that's the key. You should play bishop captures on d4, but in the game e captures on d4 here was played. Suresh decided to play ball. He said, all right, let's play this through. We have castles, and now rook to e1. And believe it or not, black is already lost here. Black was even lost here on castles right after e captures on d4 was played. But why is black lost here? Here we have rook d8, just defending the knight. And now, how do you continue here? How do you continue, and why is this so strong? Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Ihor while I give you a couple of seconds. The move in question is bishop to g5. Really a nice looking move, as the bishop can be captured by the knight, and the g5 square is also defended by the queen, but there is a big problem here. And also I would just like to mention that here, okay, rook d8 was played allowing bishop to g5, but even without this rook d8 move, how do you defend? Let's just check a few moves before continuing. Let's say we go back, knight to f6. Is this so wrong? Yes, it is, because bishop g5, and now you have problems here. And now if bishop to e7, seems like black is holding, you run into the oldest trick in the book. Rook captures on e7, and after knight captures on f6, g captures, bishop captures, and there is no defense against queen d2, queen g5. It's just one of those positions. Even if you play pawn to d5, you free up your queen to d2, and queen to d6. Now comes queen to h6. Threatening checkmate, and even if you stop it with something like knight to f5, then queen g5 check, your only move is knight g7, and the queen captures on g7 will be checkmate. So knight to f6 doesn't work, and also if pawn to f5, looks like it could hold, and maybe, okay, this isn't such a big deal, but it runs into rook captures on e4, f captures and knight to g5, and that's it. If you play any move, queen h5 will get the job done. And if you try to stop this with something like pawn to h6, then look at this, knight e7, a double check from the bishop and the knight. Only move king h8, and knight to g6 is a double knight bishop checkmate, if that even has a name. I'm sure it has. All of the checkmates have names, but I just don't know some of them. So that's why after this rook to e1, rook to e8 was played, which allowed you guys to solve the position via the pause the video moment, and you guys found bishop to g5. But it's not like, you know, it was easy to play rook to e8. All of the moves lose. So bishop to g5, absolute brilliancy, because how do you play? The queen has no squares. If you play pawn to f6, then you open up this diagonal again. Knight captures on f6, again with a double check from the bishop and the knight, and after king h8, knight captures on e4, opens up a discovery again, and you just resign here. You can block bishop e7, but just captures, white is up a full piece, of course completely winning. So that's why after bishop g5, knight captures on g5, and now rook captures on e8. With check, queen captures, knight captures on g5, and now knight to e5. A most resilient idea, but Ihor goes in for the kill. Queen to h5, threatening h7, and also there will be a triple attack on that f7 pawn once the knight moves from d5. We have pawn to h6, other moves really aren't any better, and now you could decide on many moves here, like you could play knight to e4, you could play knight captures on c7, also very nice, but for this game Ihor decided that he will be an artist, not a butcher, and he goes for knight to f6. We can even add the brilliancy mark here, as this entire game is absolutely brilliant, and you could just even resign here. But I guess it's very hard to resign on move 15, especially against a younger opponent. So the game continued a little bit, but yeah, just to show you. Even if you try to give up the queen to maybe gain some counterplay here, like let's say king to f8, now you're going to play knight g to h7 check, and after king e7, you're going to play queen captures on e5, and then you're going to capture the queen with checkmate to make it even better. So g captures on f6 was played, otherwise you just have to give up your queen, and now bishop captures on f7. Again, it seems like you have 3 pieces defending f7, but it doesn't matter. If you play knight captures on f7, then queen g6 check, and if king f8, knight to h7 check, and if king to e7, of course queen captures on f6 is checkmate. You always have to remember this setup here, where when these two squares are covered, a check from the diagonal is always checkmate. So after bishop captures on f7 check, king to g7 was played, but it only prolongs a little bit. Bishop captures on e8, winning the queen, h captures on g5, and now rook to e1. If black had the two bishops and the rook nicely placed in the game, maybe there would be some counterplay. It's just that everything is out of the game. d6 trying to activate, but just rook captures on e5, freeing up the g6 square for the queen. Again, nothing more to be done here. The captures queen to g6 check, king to h8, and bishop to f7, threatening checkmate and checkmate. So bishop to f5, stopping both of these ideas, but now not even capturing. Queen to h6 check, bishop to h7, and queen captures on f6 for this spectacular checkmate on move 23. So there we have it, round 9 from the Abu Dhabi Chess Festival. Ihor Samunenkov versus Suresh Harsh. What a game. This is one we get. Okay, many more games are played today, and many more games are documented, many more games are available to us online, but it is not often that we see such a gem. So hope you enjoyed it. Share it with your friends. Learn it by heart. You know, we do have access to internet, but it's always nice to know at least a dozen by heart, so you can impress everyone at the bar in the library. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Huge congratulations to Ihor on playing this for our viewing pleasure. Thank you a lot, sir. I would like to thank Robert Stadelman, Andrei Schrade, Robert Pande, GroznyChessFestival.org.gg, and Frank W.H. Schaefer for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day, and do comment, was this the perfect miniature? See you soon.